When we study the New Testament, we are reading a foreign book. Here I'm holding in my hands the Greek New Testament. This is how the story was originally written. It comes to us in a foreign language. It comes to us in a foreign culture. Whenever we read anything in our culture, in any culture, what we tend to do is we tend to read what we read through the lens of the culture we possess. So this presents a problem when you read a book that is 2,000 years old. The issue is this. What happens when we read an ancient book and we look at it through the lens of our own culture? It means that we begin to interpret the text through the things that we think is true in the 21st century. And so our goal is to help you to read an ancient text like the New Testament through the lenses of the original readers in antiquity. We don't want you to think of the New Testament as a 21st century book. We want to help you to see the New Testament as a first century book. If you're going to understand any ancient text, you have to make sure that you have about three things in hand. The first is this. As you read the New Testament, you need to know what the land was like where these activities are taking place. For instance, what's the difference between Galilee and Judea? If you grew up in Nazareth, if you grew up in Jerusalem, is there going to be a difference? Yes, indeed. It would be the difference between someone who says, well, I grew up in New York, or I grew up in Nebraska. Those are going to be two very different things. And if a Texan says it, you know that is a really loaded statement. I'm a Texan. I'm not from New York. 2,000 years ago, it was the very same thing. Geography really helped to identify something about who you were. The second thing is true of any time in history, any literature that comes from a history, is what is happening politically around that place and time. In other words, are there armies that have moved through? Are there major shifts in culture that have taken place because of conquests? It so happens that the Greeks and the Romans moved through this country and changed what is happening there. So consequently, inside of the writings of the New Testament, we can find code language that will actually refer to political events in antiquity. Let me give you two examples. When Jesus is asked, do we pay taxes to Caesar or not? That's actually a question not about money per se. It's a question about politics and whether or not you're willing to sort of push against the Roman occupation of the Holy Land. When in Paul's writings, Jesus is referred to as the Son of God, that's a remarkable statement because that's exactly what Caesar preferred to use for himself. So if you understand Greek and Roman politics, you will understand something about the New Testament that people in the 21st century just don't understand. Thirdly, in order for us to understand an ancient text, we have to understand the ancient culture which is driving that story. So for instance, how did people move around? What kind of jobs did they have? How did they dress? If I have some idea about the cultural impulses, instincts that are inside of the first century world, I will understand the New Testament better. For instance, in John chapter 4, Jesus goes to a well. He meets a woman there at a well, and suddenly you discover it's an awkward moment. Well, why is a woman at a well in the middle of the day, and what does that mean? It means a great deal. To us in the 21st century, it means almost nothing. But if you read John chapter 4 with first century eyes, suddenly the entire chapter will come alive.